To say Happy New Year. This is the first time I've seen many of you. My responsibilities here on Roosevelt Island are sort of winding down. I have a new coordinator that's going to be working very closely with you in scheduling presentations. Her name is Denise Liriano, excuse me. She's new in the office. Of course, I'm going to be supervising her very, very carefully, so I'm sure she'll do a really great job covering the island. I also want to leave copies of our newsletter, which basically highlights a lot of things that and programs that we were successful in completing in 2012. So we'll leave copies of those with you here. And Ellen has asked me to talk a little bit about the Trespass Affidavit program, which I will do, and I'll be very brief, because I know you still have a very, very full agenda. As many of you may or may not know, many of the buildings on the island are enrolled in what we call the Trespass Affidavit program. The police abbreviate it and they call it TAP. And basically what that is that the managing agents for the properties on the island have signed an affidavit that basically gives police officers at the 114th precinct, narcotics officers, and public safety officers, and I don't believe public safety officers actually need an affidavit, but it's still in place, the permission and the authority to enter a building and conduct what we call vertical patrols. Without there being a 911 call, they're able to patrol. They basically can stop someone that's in the building. They have access to the list of tenants in the building. If someone is not a resident, if they're not visiting a resident, they can be arrested for trespassing. And that's how a great number of the trespass arrests in the buildings take place. The original intent of the program was to deal with issues of illegal activity in buildings. And what it does is, as opposed to a police officer making an arrest and being caught up for many, many hours, having to sit and wait for an assistant district attorney in my office to talk to him to complete processing that arrest, we have this pre-signed affidavit that's signed by the managing agent. The properties are supposed to have a sign warning a person that they can be arrested for trespassing in the building if they're not a tenant or a guest of a tenant. Buildings in Roosevelt Island, I judge everything by my son's age. I came into the office of the district attorney directly from the city council when my son was 4. He's now 20. So when I came to the district attorney's office, most of the buildings in Roosevelt Island were enrolled in a program. A number have joined since that time, but this is a program that's been in effect for many, many years. And the decision to enroll the buildings in the program is totally up to the discretion of the managing agent of the property. It's totally up to their discretion. As long the affidavits expire every 6 months, as long as the managing agent signs us a new affidavit and returns it to our office, the building is still in the program. And once again, it's not at the request of public safety, it's not at the request of the police department, it's at the request of the managing agent of the property. Okay? I don't know if I'm supposed to take questions or not.
Okay, does anybody, okay, I'm going to take 2 questions, that's it. 2 questions. Mark?
How's the DA's office reacting to the federal court ruling that the TAP program is unconstitutional?
Well, first of all, that's not correct. That's not accurate. That is not accurate. The trespass program has been challenged. Every borough in New York City has some modification of the trespass program. For example, in the Bronx, they call it clean halls. I believe in Queens, they probably call it the same thing. In the Bronx, in a lot of the NYCHA buildings in particular, the program has been challenged by the Civil Liberties Union. There is a standing with the judge that says that the way the police department was instituting the program in the Bronx, they were what they call observation trespass arrest. In other words, officers were standing outside of a building, watching someone exit the building and deciding to arrest that person for trespassing. That's not the correct way to conduct a vertical patrol, nor is it the correct way to arrest someone for trespassing. My office, after extensive training and negotiating and writing a very thick manual that New York City police officers that are based or that patrol the streets of the borough of Manhattan, that's something that if we have a very definitive checklist when officers make arrests for trespassing, and our checklist addresses things like this person was observed trespassing, and if an officer says anywhere other than the boxes that are on our supporting deposition, if they cannot articulate that they observed a person trespassing in one of those places that are delineated on our form, the case is kicked out. So we don't have that issue in Manhattan.
Thank you.
Well, I would just like to say that this is exactly the kind of repressive, unconstitutional activity that resulted in this young man here being in the hospital for 5 days with a punctured lung. I hope that every civil liberties organization continues to fight this, that gives police more power to violate your rights, that gives a management authority the right to suspend constitutional.
Okay, this is not a question. I'm sorry. Please sit down.
That are not presumed innocent of
It's not a question. I asked. It's not a question.
Fought by everybody that believes in constitutional rights, whether it is formally legal as interpreted by the DA
Thank you.
at this moment.
Okay, you heard it. Okay, I'm going to, if people want, let's show of hands, how many people want Linda Jones-Janneh to come back and discuss it at more at length, the TAP program? Okay, so we will have another meeting at another time to discuss this at greater length, okay? And we'll have a real community forum with it. Okay, because I think this is a real issue, and I think this is something that everybody in the community needs to know about and needs to really take action if we have a problem with it. Thank you very much.